Hey guys, remember, at any point in this video you need to pause the video, you can. Distributive property. The distributive property is where you have something in parentheses that is being multiplied by something outside the parentheses. So this is saying 7 times x plus 4. So when you're distributing the number inside the parentheses, you're going to take that 7 and multiply it by everything that is being added or subtracted within the parentheses. So I'm going to do 7 times x plus 7 times 4. So when I do 7 times x, I get 7x plus 7 times 4, which is 28. So my final answer is going to be 7x plus 28. The next problem, we are multiplying a2 by b minus 3. So my final answer is going to be 2 times b, which is going to be 2b minus 2 times negative 3, which will give me negative 6. Number 3, I'm multiplying it by negative 4. So it's going to be negative 4 times y plus a negative 4 times 3. So negative 4 times y will give me a negative 4y. Now, a negative 4 times 3 will give me a negative 12. So it's really going to be a negative 12 and not a plus 12. Number 4, multiplying by negative 5. So it's going to be negative 5 times m plus a negative 5 times a negative 2. So negative 5 times m is going to give me a negative 5m. Now, a negative 5 times a negative 2 is going to give me a positive 10. I'm going to erase this negative 2 so it's out of my way for number 5. Number 5, all I'm going to do is distribute a negative. If you just have a negative inside the parentheses, all they want you to do is multiply it by negative 1. So it's really a negative 1 times y minus 9. So a negative 1 times y is going to give me a negative 1y, or if you want to write negative y, that's okay too. And then a negative 1 times a negative 9 gives me a positive 9. Number 6, 8 parentheses 4 minus b parentheses. This one's a little bit different just because instead of b being your variable being written first in the parentheses, it's written last. But you do it the same way you do the other ones. You just multiply within the parentheses. So I'm really going to have 8 times 4 plus 8 times negative b. So 8 times 4 is going to give me 32. And 8 times negative b is going to give me negative 8b. Okay, number 7. Negative 4 times parentheses negative w minus 10. So just multiply again. Negative 4 times negative w gives me positive 4w because a negative times a negative is a positive. And negative 4 times a negative 10 gives me a positive 40. Number 8. 5 times 2m minus 3. 5 times 2. I know there's numbers in front of the variables now, but now you have to do the 5 times 2. So it's really going to be 5 times 2m plus 5 times negative 3. So 5 times 2 is 10m. So you leave the variable the same, plus 5 times negative 3, which gives me negative 15. I'm going to erase that negative 3 so I can look at number 9. So I'm going to do a negative 3 now. So negative 3 times 2 gives me a negative 6x. A negative 3 times a negative 4 gives me a positive 12. Number 10. This time, instead of just doing one variable, they're giving us 2 variables. But it's the same way. You're just distributing. 3 times m plus 3 times n. So 3 times m is just 3m plus 3 times n, which is 3n. Number 11 just wants us to distribute the x variable into the parentheses. So really it's just going to be x times y plus x times 4. So when I do x times y, I'm just going to be left with xy plus x times 4. Most of y'all are probably going to want to try to write x4. But the proper way to write it is going to be 4x. Okay? Put the number in front of the variable, not after. Number 12, d times c minus 4. D times c is going to give me DC, as in Washington, D.C. Haha. There's a bug on my board. Sorry guys, there's a bug on my board. And then you're going to do d times negative 4, which gives me negative 4d. 13. 13 says 6a, parentheses, b plus 2c. Okay? 3 variables. But you still do it the same way. It doesn't ever really change. So really it's going to be six a times b plus 6a times 2c. So I'm going to do a 6 times 1, which is 6, a times b, which is a, b, plus 6 times 2, which is 12, and a times c, which is a, c. Okay, I'm going to erase this so I can get it out of my way. And I'm left with number 14. Even though we've been working with only 2 terms inside the parentheses, well, no matter how many terms you have, you're going to get the same, it's the same process. So I'm going to multiply the 2 to all 3 numbers now. So it's really going to be 2 times x plus 2 times negative y plus 2 times 8. So I'm going to get 2x. Now look at this one. It's a positive 2 times a negative y. So it's going to change it to a negative 2y. And 2 times 8 is going to give me a positive 16. Number 15. I'm distributing an x to 3 terms. So I'm going to have x times 2y plus x times negative 5z plus x times 1. So I'm going to get 2xy minus 5xz plus x. Number 16. Now, these last 3 problems, we're going to be getting into fractions. Remember, when you're multiplying your fractions, you multiply the top together and the bottom together, and then reduce the final fraction. So for this example, I have 1/4 times 8. Just put 8 over 1, so that when you multiply the top numbers together, I'm going to get 8 divided by 4 times 1 is 4. Now, if you put 8 over 4 in your calculator, it's the same thing as 8 divided by 4, and you're going to get 2. So when I do 1/4 times 8x plus 1/4 times -4, I'm going to get 2x. So now instead of multiplying by 8, I'm going to multiply by a -4 over 1. And I'm going to get -4 on top, because 1 times -4 is -4. And a 1 times 4, which is 4, on bottom. So -4 divided by 4 is going to give you -1. So it's going to be -1. Number 17, there are more fractions. You're going to have 1/6 times 3/5. Because when I distribute the 1/6, I'm going to have 1/6 times 3/5 x plus 1/6 times 18. So remember, multiply the top numbers together. So I'm going to get 3, multiply the bottom. 6 times 5 is 30. When you reduce this fraction, you ask yourself, is there a number that will go into both 3 and 30? Right off the bat, I should recognize that that number is going to be 3. You're going to do 3 divided by 3, which gives me 1, and 3 divided by 3, which gives me 10. So my final answer is going to be 1/10 x time, or plus, now I'll have to go back and do the other one. So I'm going to do 1/6 times 18. If it's a whole number like this one is, just put it over 1 and say, okay, 1 times 18 is 18. 6 times 1 is 6. 18 divided by 6 is going to give me 3. So it's just going to be plus 3. Okay, last one for this set of examples. You have -1/8 times the parenthesis of 4/5 x minus 24. You're just going to take the -1/8 and distribute it into the parentheses. So I'm going to do -1/8 times 4 over 5x plus -1/8 times -24. So a -1 over 8 times 4/5 is equal to -4. 8 times 5 gives me 40. Okay, right off the bat, I recognize it's definitely not going to be a whole number, so it's going to give me a decimal point. Remember, find a number that will go into both 4 and 40. And I should know, again, right off the bat, it is going to be 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 40 divided by 4 is 10. But do not forget this negative. Don't forget it. So it's going to be negative. So I'm going to have -1 over 10x okay. Now I'll have to go back and do the last one. I'm going to have -1/8 times a -24. There again, put it over 1, multiply across. I get positive because a negative times a negative is going to be positive. 24 over 8 times 1 is 8. Okay. First of all, when you have fractions that might possibly can be reduced, really the first thing you should ask yourself, will it reduce to a whole number? If you do 24 divided by 8, you should get 3. Okay? 3. And it's going to be positive, so it's going to be a plus 3. So the last things that we're going to talk about is how to distribute a number and then combine like terms. So to simplify an expression means to ensure that there are no parentheses and no like terms. In order to do this, distribute first if needed, then combine like terms. So if we look at number 19, we have 8 parentheses 2x minus 3 parentheses minus 6x. Listen carefully. You only distribute inside the parentheses. If there is numbers outside the parentheses, do not distribute. So for this problem, all I'm going to do is multiply 8 by 2x minus 3. Leave the negative 6x alone for now. So 8 times 2, so it's going to be 8 times 2x plus 8 times negative 3 minus 6x. So 8 times 2 is 16x. 8 times negative 3 is going to give me negative 24 minus 6x. If you don't want to write this negative 6x right here for now, you don't have to. You can erase it. Or if you think you might forget about it, keep it. It does not matter, as long as you don't forget about it in the end. So had you have just given me this, you would be wrong. Okay? So you have to remember the negative 6x. So now we're combining like terms, so we have to find, okay, what are like terms? 16x, negative 6x. 16 minus 6 gives me 10x minus 24. And that is your final answer. Number 20. This time, we have 2 sets of parentheses that also need to be distributed. 9. 9 times 2 gives me 18k. 9 times negative 4 gives me negative 36. With the second set of parentheses, you're not multiplying by 2, you're multiplying by a negative 2. So you're going to do negative 2 times 7 gives me negative 14k, and a negative 2 times 12, which gives me a positive 24. Combine like terms. 18k minus 14k will give me 4k. Negative 36 plus 24 is going to give me a negative 12. So your final answer is going to be 4k minus 12. 21. I'm only looking at the parentheses for now because I have to distribute the negative. Remember, if it's just a negative in front, you can rewrite it to have a negative 1. That is okay. If you get confused with just a negative sign, put a 1 right in front of the first parentheses. So I'm going to actually have 10 negative 1 times y will be a negative y. Negative 1 times negative 6 is going to be a positive 6 minus y. Combine your like terms. Negative y gives me negative 2y. 10 plus 6 gives me a plus 16. Number 22. Distribute the 8. I'm going to have 6 plus 8 times 4, 32, w, minus 8 times 7, which is negative 56. Distribute the negative 1. I get negative 2w minus 1. Combine like terms. looks like it's going to be this with this. So it's going to be 30W, and then 6 minus 56 minus 1, which will give me a negative 49. 2 more. Almost done. Alright, fractions. I'm going to set mine up to the side like I did up at top. I'm going to have 9 divided by 4 times 10 over 3 equals 90 over 12. 90 divided by 12 does not give you a whole number. So I have to ask, what number will go into both 12 and 90? Okay? Well, right off the bat, I know 3 goes into 90 and 3 will go into 12. So I'm going to do 90 divided by 3. 90 divided by 3 is 30 over 4. Well, that didn't give me a fully reduced number because there's another number that will go into both 30 and 4. If you think, it could be 2. It is okay to do it more than once. If you do not get the right number the first time, you can do it again. It is perfectly okay. 30 divided by 2 gives me 15. 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. So I'm going to have 15 divided by 2x. Okay. Then I'm going to have to do 9 divided by 4 times negative 4 over 1, which will give me negative 36 divided by 4, which does reduce to a whole number of negative 9. So I'm going to do subtract 9. Now you have to distribute into the second set of parentheses. You're going to have negative 1/4 times 2 over 1, which gives me negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. So I'm going to do negative 1/2 x. So then I'm going to do negative 1/4 times negative 8 over 1. Negative will give me a positive 8 over 4, which reduces to 2. So I'm going to do a plus 2. Combine like terms. I'm going to change colors so you can see it better. 5 over 2x minus 1/2. So you're going to do 15 over 2 minus 1/2. In order to combine fractions that are being added or subtracted, your bottom numbers must be the same. These two numbers must be the same. If they're the same, your answer will stay the same. And then you do 15 minus 1. So 15 minus 1 will give me 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I'm going to be left with 7x. Negative 9 plus 2 will leave me with negative 7. $24. I'm going to erase my fractions so I can work over here. 7/8. Y'all always say y'all don't like that color. I'm going to go back to blue. Oops, too far. 7/8 times 4/5 will give me 28 over 40. I believe 4 will go into both. So 28 divided by 4 would be 7. And 40 divided by 4 is 10. So I'm going to get 7/10 x I'm going to have to do the 7 times over 8 times 16 over 1. 7 times 16 is 112, divided by 8 times 1 is 8. Now, 112 is a big number, but I know because it ends in a 2 and 8 is even, that if I divide by each side by 2, it can reduce. Okay, so 112 divided by 2 is going to give me 56 over 4. Well, they can be divided by 2 again, so we just keep going. 56 divided by 2 is going to give me 28 over 2. And if I divide by 2 again, I'm going to get 14 over 1. Well, looky there. Had I just tried to do 112 divided by 8 to begin with in the calculator, like I probably should have, I would have realized that, hey, that's going to be a whole number. But instead, I did all this work just to get down to 14. So I'm going to add 14. Then I have to distribute the 3/5. So I'm going to do 3/5 times 1/2. Multiply the top, I get 3. Multiply the bottom, 3/10. 3/10 won't reduce. So I'm going to add 3/10. And then I'm going to go back and multiply by -10. So times -10 over 1. 3 times -10 will give me -30 divided by 5. 3 divided by 5, go ahead, you can come in. 3 divided by 5 is going to give me a -6. I'm sorry, not 3 divided by 5, 30 divided by 5. Which gives me a -6. So I'm going to subtract 6. Okay? Once I distribute, I'm going to then combine like terms. So I have 7/10 x plus, oops, I forgot my x right here. Y'all probably noticed that, but I did forget my x right there. 3/10 x. Because my numbers are the same, I'm going to highlight them again. My bottom numbers, 10 and 10, I can just go ahead and add the top together. So I'm going to get 10 divided by 10 x, which reduces to 1x. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to be left with 1x. So I just combined those. Now I have to combine 14 minus 6, which gives me plus 8. And that is my final answer. So for the remainder of the class period, and if you don't finish, I want you to work on that back page. If you need to, you can always come back and review the video. Okay? So work on the back page.